Hey, What the Suck family. As you may have noticed, we recently switched to Anchor for our podcast hosting needs.
That's right, we were using another site that had us paying $20 a month for services such as unlimited uploading, unlimited hosting, and distribution. Anchor will distribute your podcast to Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, and many more, and they do it all for free.
They make it super easy to create and start your podcast directly from their site. You can record and edit directly on the Anchor website or app directly from your phone.
It's your one-stop shop for everything you need to create your own show. They will even help you find sponsors to fund your project.
Just go to anchor.fm and get started today. There really is no easier way to do it. Sorry, I have some... Get to that job. Oh, damn, okay.
What? No! You suck! Oh my God!
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of What the Suck. I'm Chris.
And I'm James.
And today we have a special in-house guest. The one, the only, none other than my wife, Kristin.
Hi, everybody.
So she has graciously volunteered to be brave enough to watch one of our shitty movies with us.
I don't know if it's the movie she's got to worry about or our bullshit behavior.
Well, I married half of it.
Yeah,
so
she
Yeah,
married
you
half
did.
of it. Yeah,
That
she
is
did.
true.
You don't particularly like scary movies, do you, babe?
No, I am the biggest wuss you will ever meet. I do not like scary movies. I do not like suspense. I certainly do not like horror. So I'm very pleased to hear the title of tonight's film.
So what would you say is the scariest movie you've seen to date?
Oh gosh.
Lilo and Stitch.
I don't know. Nightmare Before Christmas is kind of spooky.
Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas. No, but I actually did give a few like scarier stuff a try, like the thing that came out on Netflix, The House on Haunted Hill.
Oh yeah, we enjoyed that one a lot. That was really good.
There was a jump scare at the closer to the end. If for those of you who have seen it, know which one I'm talking about, but I literally came unglued. I'm just came straight off the couch.
Pull a muscle or something.
I did.
Yeah.
That was like leg day for me.
Yep.
So
I mean, it actually got me too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the jump scares, they're very predictable, but yet every once in a blue moon I'll get caught by one.
Yeah.
Like I think one of our first episodes we did, our what was it, the Chuck Connors one we did with the dolls in them, all the stupid mannequins.
Oh, Tourist Trap.
Tourist Trap.
Yeah.
There was one in there. There was a corny jump scare, and it actually made me jump, and it pissed me off because I see these things coming from a mile away, so I'm always trying to not, I don't try to fall for that crap.
Yeah, generally jump scares are very predictable. I mean, it's a change in music or a change in camera work.
You're like, here it comes.
Yeah, a change in the camera scene or something. It's usually set up pretty well, but that one in House on Haunted Hill, because it involved a section that was so drama-filled and you were actually interested in the characters, you weren't expecting it. And there was no change in the music. There was no shifting of camera work. So
it was like, boo.
you're just watching these two family members just discuss a family issue, and all of a sudden this ghosty wants to come out and make you shit your pants.
Basically.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I was like, I'm done. And I just like went into the bedroom.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming on.
Yes, indeed.
And,
thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
And
Of
as I
course.
like to tell our viewers every once in a while, brace for impact.
Yes. So
Because it just goes downhill.
it never went uphill. It just leveled out. So tonight's film is the 1965 British horror film Doctor Terror's House of Horrors.
2 years before I was born.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I
All
like
right.
that.
We're getting closer to our birth time.
Getting close.
Yeah. Not directed, but it's from Amicus Productions. It was directed by veteran horror director Freddie Francis. Written by Milton Subotsky. starring the legendary Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. Now, it was the first in a series of anthology films from Amicus and was followed by several films including Torture Garden in 67, The House That Dripped Blood in 70, Asylum in 72, Tales from the Crypt in 72, The Vault of Horror in 73, and From Beyond the Grave in 1974.
And that is an interesting fact because I did not know that Tales from the Crypt was actually revived for the 80s and 90s series on HBO. I
Yeah.
had no idea. I thought it was like
Original.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of... It is, but it was redone in a much more dramatic fashion. Because, he tells from the crypt, it's Crypt Keeper, it's crazy scenarios, whereas the British one was much more subdued.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it wasn't, flash in the pan. It was just more psychological horror than anything else.
Jolly good shows.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, right here. So, directed by Freddie Francis, produced by Max Rosenberg, Milton Subotsky, written by Milton Subotsky, starring Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, Max Adrian, Ann Bell, Peter Madden, Donald Sutherland too. Don't forget Donald Sutherland.
Wow.
That's right.
Damn.
Yeah. Father of Kiefer Sutherland, Roy Castle.
Do you know that guy has never won an Oscar?
Donald Sutherland.
He has done several fine performances, but he's never won any really big awards for it.
But yeah, no, he hasn't, which is
Then
crazy.
again, starring in pieces of shit like this, you can kind of see why.
Yeah, I see why you're looked over.
Yeah.
Distributed by Regal Films in the UK and Paramount Pictures here in the good old US of A.
Paramount.
Yep.
Oh, Lord.
It was released initially in February of 1965 in the UK, and then a few months later in June of 1965 here in the USA. Running time is 98 minutes.
Damn.
That's a little bit long.
That's
for...
about 20 minutes too long,
Well,
man.
there are 5 stories in this anthology, so that's probably why. Yes.
Damn.
Let's see. It was released with a budget of £105,000.
£105,000.
Donald Sutherland was paid a mere £1,000 for his performance, which is $10,000 in current day money.
10 grand in current day dollars.
Yeah, so we'll keep that in mind as we figure out exactly how much he's in the movie, see if he actually got his money's worth or if he was underpaid.
Technoscope.
Yep.
So it says, filmed in a cinematic process known as Technoscope.
Filmed in
we shall see.
Technoscope. That's right. Okay. Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. Dr. Terror, played by Peter Cushing from Star Wars. Oh, thank you. I wouldn't have realized he was from Star Wars if I hadn't known who he was. Is a mysterious fortune teller who boards a train and offers to tell 5 fellow passengers their fortune with tarot cards.
In 6 different languages.
Yeah.
Or
5
accents. Actually.
Accents, yeah. 5 possible futures unfold. An architect returns from his ancestral home to find a werewolf out for revenge. A huge flesh-eating vine takes over a house. I think we saw that movie already. A musician gets involved with voodoo. An art critic is pursued by a disembodied hand, and a doctor discovers his new wife is a vampire. But they all end in the same result: death. Spoilers much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A fascinating and fast-paced example of portmanteau filmmaking. The hell? Portmanteau filmmaking with a deadly twist in the tale.
Interesting.
From Amicus, the studio that dripped blood. During the 1960s and 70s, Britain's Amicus Productions were one of the world's leading makers of horror movies, rivaling Hammer Films in popularity. Their productions boasted spine-chilling, toe-curling adventures, lurid titles, stylish direction, and stellar casts. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll talk about each story, what are they called? They're called segments.
I guess we could say segments.
Yeah. And then
Each individual turd in the pile.
And we'll review each one as we come across it.
Sounds like it.
All right, so let's go with the review system. As you guys remember, our review system is reversed. It's based on shit emojis, and 1 through 5, with 1 being the best, 5 being the worst. So 1 out of 5 shit emojis is something you're gonna keep in your queue. It's gonna be one of your new classics. You're gonna want to watch it over and over. You'll get endless enjoyment out of it, and so will your friends. 2 out of 5 is something that you'll watch only once with your friends, and only with those who enjoy really shitty movies. These aren't ones that are for everybody. They're best to do with a group who like to riff on movies or play a drinking game.
Absolutely.
3 out of 5, you will at least share these with friends. You don't have to watch them with them, but if you have nothing better to do, then go for it. But be prepared to drink heavily while watching. 4 out of 5, you go ahead and watch it once with your friends, and trust me, that will be enough for you and your friends. These are the ones that are so strange that you're not going to want to see them more than once, but you at least want to share your misery with your friends. Now, the worst, I should say, the 5 out of 5, the Fica de la Mater. You'll bring these out only on special occasions, like a forced double date, in-laws in town, trying to get rid of a soon-to-be ex-frenemy. When finished, you're going to remove the memory of these movies with a mind-altering substance or some sort of blunt force trauma.
Absolutely.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do you understand the rating system, Boo?
Yes.
All right. So you're ready to watch a shitty movie and assign it one of these particular.
So my question is, are we assigning each story a rating or the movie as a whole?
Exactly.
You're not supposed to think that much.
You have obviously not met me.
But
usually we do the first one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
for anthologies?
Yeah, we'll give each individual segment a rating and then do an overall rating at the end.
That is true.
Got it.
An
okay.
average turd.
Average turd out of the
That's right.
turds from each segment. So
Okay.
keep that in
Problem
mind.
is these older movies are charming, so they're not as hard to be mean to, but I'm going to do my best.
I know. I'm kind of feeling sad about it a little bit, especially now that we've gone over the cast. I have
trust
faces
me.
and names.
Yeah, well, trust me, when you've said, holy shit, what the hell was that, about 20 times, then it will come easy.
All right.
So, all right. Well, before we get started, so why don't you tell everybody about yourself, babe? Like, what is it you do? What are you interested in? What are your hobbies?
Okay, so a little bit about me. So I enjoy cross-stitching.
Nice.
I absolutely love reading, and I love Harry Potter in all forms.
Yes,
and
yes, we
if
both
you
do.
Have yet to enjoy the audiobook format, I highly recommend it. It is a must-have. So that's a little brief.
You do a little bit of modeling too, huh? A bit
Yes.
cosplaying, huh?
So yes, I do. We do. I'm part of a cosplay group here in Houston, and we do group shoots and we do theme shoots every month. And so we just finished up a witch theme shoot, which was amazing. Next month is going to be a masquerade theme. So that is a awesome group of talented photographers and models that I get to spend my time with.
Yes. All right. Well, very cool, babe. All right. Well,
Very good, very
all right.
nice.
Now that we've got the pleasantries out the way, let's get with the shitteries, huh?
Yeah, enough of all this mushy bullshit.
That's
Let's get
right.
on with the let's get on with the slamming,
Get on with this
Jack.
bullshit. All right.
All right.
Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. Horrors the screen has never before dared to depict. The terrifying horror of man killing vine with a human brain that creeps and kills. The terrifying horror of the dead, entombed for 200 years, that creeps its way back to terrorize the living. The terrifying horror of a dreaded man called Dr. Terror, who, with his deck of mystic cards, could foretell destiny. Dr. Terror's House of Horrors.
Okay, so this movie is an anthology, and the wraparound story, which is the story that connects all the other stories, takes place on a train. Dr. Terror, or as he's known in this movie, Doctor Schreck, which is German for terror and or tall green ogre, boards a train and enters a room with 5 other passengers. And during that time, apparently his suitcase falls over and all the shit comes out, including a tech of tarot cards.
Tech of tarot cards.
Tech of
There you
tarot
go.
cards.
Yes.
A deck of tarot cards, and at that point, the passengers are very interested in the cards, and so Dr. Terror relays that each card holds a destiny, and he can tell each passenger their destiny by reading the cards.
And a quick note, I wasn't even paying attention at that point. I was looking around and I looked at, oh, what the hell are those, tarot cards? I had no idea.
Yep, they were.
I just said, he just had a handful of shit and they were all discombobulated, so.
There really was like crumpled up receipts like falling
Yeah.
out of the bag. I mean, it kind of looked like my purse a little bit.
I think all that paper was actually just one CVS receipt that he had just crumbled in there.
Yes.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah. So that provides the framework for the horror stories, and I gotta say, as someone who has seen a lot of anthologies, I always enjoy when the wraparound story is very well done, and this is actually very, very well done.
That's the problem. You're not supposed to have good movies on this motherfucker.
Yeah,
but
and that's
I
the other
guess
thing too. It's good acting in this one.
That's actually fantastic acting for the time period, of course. But these are big name guys, and they don't know how to act shitty. So
Yeah, they do very well, but I mean, because there's been a whole bunch of different types of anthologies, and they're always, some of them tell the wraparound story better than others. I mean, like the first two VHS movies have a really great wraparound story that serves as a basis, the framework for it. There's a couple others that the Creep Show movie, the first Creep Show, has a great wraparound framework.
fantastic.
But then there are others that are so just immensely lazy that the wraparound makes no sense, and it doesn't make any sense as to why the stories are being told. But this is actually very well done. I mean, telling the stories in the form of destinies through the tarot cards with all the passengers in one room is actually, I think it's actually a pretty brilliant idea.
Yeah, you actually nailed that, because I remember when they first started talking about it, he says, "Oh, everybody in this room is going to be one of the sub stories."
Yeah.
So it was.
Yeah.
That was a good call.
Yeah, it's very
I was
well
like, how
done.
are they going to do that? But then it made a lot of sense. I was like, aha.
Yeah, and by doing it with the tarot cards and the destinies, each person picks their own tarot deck or whatever, or tarot cards, and it's easier to inject that person into the story.
Yep.
So yeah, so far so good. That's a bad thing for us though.
Yeah, because it's hard to rip on movies like this because of the classic nature, the very well, the well done acting, stuff like that. It's hard to pick out something, but we'll try.
But also too, with it being on a train, they're all in the same like cabin or whatever they're called, but because they're in a train, it's easier for them to stumble upon a group of strangers.
True.
And all kind of sit in the same cargo area, and all like we noted during watching it, they all have different accents. They're all clearly from different walks of life and
Right.
have different acting styles, and so to be able to insert that into their unique stories makes sense with the tarot cards too.
Yeah, it really does. It's a super cool way to do it.
How does it work?
The person whose fortune is to be told touches the cards 3 times. Then they are shuffled and dealt. The first 4 cards predict his destiny. The 5th gives him the knowledge to change it, if change is possible.
So the first guy who is brave enough to say yes to a tarot card reading is the architect Jim Dawson, and his story is they don't have the names of the stories in the movie. You can find them online on Wikipedia or whatever. So the first story is called Werewolf, so spoiler as to what it involves. Yeah, so it starts off with him. He returns to his old family home in Scotland.
Scotland.
And
Going home.
Yeah, just can't do it.
Aye.
Need more dilithium crystals, Captain. All right, this whole review is gonna be nothing but bad Scotty impressions. Sorry. Yeah, so he returns home to his family home to look over renovations with the new owner.
But why in the fuck renovate? You walk in there, this place is a work of art. I mean, it's a gorgeous freaking house. Like you said, the damn fireplace was the shit.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was absolutely gorgeous.
I mean, it was a gorgeous freaking house.
Yeah. So I mean,
why are you going to tear it apart? Yeah, I don't know.
well, as we learn later on at the end of the movie, that whole making renovations was just a ruse to get him there.
Yes.
So that she could eat him. Spoilers. So
I want to say too, sorry to interrupt, but I
No, you're
want to
good.
say too that the wife, Mrs. I'm not gonna be able
Biddulph?
Biddulph, Mrs. Biddulph.
You can just say bitch.
Yes.
Old bitch.
Yeah.
Because old bitch and young bitch.
Mrs. Biddy.
Biddy.
So she mentions it earlier in the story that, she really struggled to get over her husband, and that probably had caused a delay in renovating the home or making changes to the home because she was grieving. So
Just making fucking excuses.
Yeah.
Old bitch, lazy.
So he
It's a lot
he
of work.
yeah. So he meets old Biddy, and he meets the maid, the young Biddy. And then who the hell was that dude with the butler or some shit? The
creepy
slope
dude.
head, yeah, slope forehead dude.
That
the butler.
slope-headed fuck.
Yeah.
That creepy closet jumping bitch. Motherfucker be just creeping in and out of closets and shit, sneaking up and down the hallways and stuff.
You rang.
No, for real though, that's probably my favorite part of the whole story.
So he finds while he's down in the basement, and he finds a fake wall that he knocks out in the cellar, actually, and he finds a coffin in there, and it's the coffin of Count Cosmo Valdemar.
Must be the coffin of Cosmo Valdemar, the werewolf.
Who sounds like he was less of a count.
That sounds like a drag queen name.
I was just gonna say that, yeah. Sounds like he spent less time on Transylvania and more time on Montrose.
Count Cosmo.
Yeah.
Count Cosmo Valdemar. Blah, blah.
That's right. Fabulous.
So, and there's a legend that states that Valdemar will reclaim his former home and take revenge on the current owner. And that's when we get the scene where the Dawson dude tries to open it, but he can't open the coffin, and they leave, and then the coffin opens, and this not tiny, but this hand comes out that's full of, like, dog hair.
You're like, yeah, you can see that coming.
Yeah, and, like, it's a werewolf, even though they're taking more from the vampiric side of the mythos.
I guess they are, but... fuck it. I've never seen a werewolf in a goddamn coffin.
I know, werewolves don't have coffins.
No, but the coffin was the shit, you have to admit. It had this big old wolf head on the side of it. It took 17 dudes to try and open it.
Oh, I wonder what's in this.
Look,
yeah.
If they remake this in this time period, instead of putting him in a coffin, they need to find an ancient old dog kennel.
Something.
That he's locked in. He was locked
Yes.
in. He was buried in a dog kennel.
Go to your crate.
Go to your crate.
That's right.
Go to bed.
I was hoping for Crate Monkey from Creepshow, but no.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't happen.
Valdemar, you're drunk. Go to bed. Go to your crate. So anyway, then the werewolf comes out, and then we find the young Biddy has been killed.
Problem is, you don't see that.
No, it's all off screen.
That's all off screen.
You-
That is one thing I've hated about this so far. I don't like off screen shit.
So
I like to see death.
I do, as long as it's not bad death. I mean,
Hopefully
like
I'm
bad
not-
as in badly done, like
Yeah.
like that circus movie we watched that
Oh,
was
Jesus.
fucking horrible. Where like the killing was on screen for like 15 minutes and I was done after 5 because it was so bad.
Oh, you talking about the freak show?
Yeah, freak show
Yeah,
shit.
ooh.
Yeah.
Eh. Continue, sir.
No, that's fine. And so somehow Dawson then believes in the whole werewolf myth or legend, whatever, and decides he wants to make silver bullets out of a silver cross that was on the wall. Now, that was the fastest transition of, there's a werewolf legend to we found a dead body to the werewolf.
Him drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, that I have ever
Yeah.
seen in my life. Because it literally all happened in the span of like 3 hours in one night.
Well, they only have 15 minutes a segment, dude.
But still, I mean,
shit.
damn. So anyway, so he goes to make these. Damn. So he makes these bullets, and then while he's in the basement waiting to kill the wolf, he goes there and he looks in the coffin. It's empty.
Call me lazy or crazy. Did he even show? Did they even show him making those fucking bullets?
No, it
No.
didn't. No, it didn't.
Okay.
They didn't.
Boring.
Yeah. So then he's waiting there, and he's waiting for the wolf to come back, and all of a sudden you hear old Biddy upstairs screaming, and he runs up there, and we get the only shot of the wolf we get is a close-up shot of the wolf's teeth and eyes, and that's it.
And it looks like a German Shepherd. I'm
It
sorry.
looks like a regular wolf dog.
It looks like the jowls of a German Shepherd.
And then he shoots at it, and it runs off into the basement again, the cellar.
into a red fog, and actually opens and closes the fucking door.
Yeah.
Slams that door.
Yeah.
I mean, that wolf was pissed.
Yep.
Yeah, and so then he's tripping out as to why the bullets didn't work. So he swears he hit him, and then that's when old Biddy's like,
You mean these?
yeah, he tells her,
silver
I
bullets?"
made silver bullets. Oh, no, that's not even Scottish. What the hell was that? I don't know what that was, but
Just
I
old-
made silver bullets. Why didn't it work? And that's when old Biddy was like, how, James?
Yeah, sure. Make me do it again.
Yeah,
See,
do it again.
I do it better when I'm not thinking.
Just
bro.
fucking do it.
I said, "Oh, you mean these
Perfect,
silver
perfect.
bullets?"
Perfect.
And then she walking at him with his slow hand bullshit. And you notice I'm doing the motions, but nobody can fucking see
us.
this shit.
Yeah. So what's the twist here, Kristen? What happens after that?
So she was married to the werewolf. So she's Mrs. Count Cosmo.
Yes.
And
I thought it'd be Mr. Count, but whatever.
yeah, well, she's the Mrs.
I thought it'd be two Misters though. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, good point.
Like,
Got it. Oh, hi,
Yeah.
hi. So Mrs. Count Cosmo reveals the big story or twist at the end that it was all a ruse to get the original owner of the home, who was the architect, because he is part of the lineage that originally owned the home, and if the werewolf kills him, then he will be free. And
That is
Homegirl,
entirely too intelligent sounding. You got to dumb this shit down a little bit. The werewolf actually was the lycanthrope approached from the east and blah, blah, blah.
If you go back many millennia in German history, the term werewolf comes from. And then if you turn to page 394.
Shut up. Yeah, so Mrs. Count Cosmo is also a werewolf, and she busts out like her newly mani-pedi situation and scratches a hoe.
That's right, scratches.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's the end of the story. Done in that
End
one.
of segment number 1.
Yeah. So
Four more to go.
Yeah. So all right, let's start with James. Let's give you a rating for this one, James.
I already love this movie. I'm sorry, it's corny, but it's 60s corny. The acting is fantastic. The photography is actually good. The effects were typical of the period. I'm going to 1 star.
So one star.
1 star.
1 star. Wow. What
one
fucking
turd.
podcast are you on?
I'm going a turd.
1 turd for this one.
I can't be mean to this movie. It's
Okay.
actually quite good so far.
All right, Kristen. What about you? What do you give this particular segment?
So I have to agree with James. What I can see with this movie, or so far, and particularly this segment, is like I could see this like on a TV in a living room at like a family Halloween or something like that. Maybe like on mute or on the background or something. It's fun. It's cute. It's a little slow. But it's very, very typical of the era, and I agree. 1.
1. Okay.
Damn, she agrees with me.
She does.
We're
I know.
in trouble.
So far,
know.
you got 4
You know,
segments to go.
Well, me and Mr. Man over there, we never fucking hardly agree on anything. I mean, we're pretty close on a lot of movies, but we're always a little bit different. Go for it, bro.
All right. Yeah. The atmosphere, the cinematography, everything is really great. But I mean, it's standard. I mean, it's very much of the time period as far as horror films go. But that is also in its detriment because it doesn't really show anything, and the special effects are not there. The story is charming at the beginning, but as we go along, I just got kind of bored. And then when they did the fake out with the wolf, I was kind of like thought that was pretty lame. So I enjoyed it, but I'm gonna go 3 for this one.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're a one harsh motherfucker.
I am.
Damn.
I am. So yeah, so 3 for this one. All right, so let's go on to the next one, which would be Creeping Vine.
Ow!
What is it? What is it? Bill!
It seemed to cry out in pain when I hit it, but I couldn't cut into it with the hoe.
So the next segment is called Creeping Vine, or at least that's what the listing says. And it has to do with one of the passengers who comes home from vacation and with his wife and his daughter to discover a rather rogue plant or vine grown in their garden. And when they attempt to cut it down, it fights back. And
Not only does it fight back, it yelps.
it moves.
It screams.
It screams and it moves. And there's really not a lot to this short. At some point, the plant envelopes the entire house.
Yeah, what it is first of all, this is where the movie took a huge dive for me. Period.
And a huge dump.
It's a very small segment, but yeah, you saw him out there jacking with it. And then what happens? The family dog goes over there and starts digging around, and they committed the mortal sin of killing the dog. So
Yeah.
therefore, I hated this entire segment. I don't give a damn. The acting was still good, but the rest of the segment, fuck it.
Yeah, I think that essentially the whole concept of this segment was talking about how the vine is gaining intelligence, and so they are trying to outwit the vine, and they never can. And so at first it, they try to chop it down, and it gives this little bitty scream, and then it eats the dog. Well, it kills the dog, and then.
Well, we can't forget the shoulder tap. The vine comes creeping in the window and taps that dude on the shoulder, and he spins around, and all of a sudden,
and then he's down for the count.
Yeah.
And laying on the bed with pieces of vine hanging off of him dead. It's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the family is trapped with some other dude who I guess is a friend of the father's or whatever, and he discovers that the plant, like all living things, are afraid of fire. So he grabs a newspaper, sets it on fire, and then proceeds out the door through the entanglement of leaves to his car, and you hear him take off. And then
peace, bitches.
the short ends with the family stuck in the house, and that's how it ends. There's no resolution. There's
and it stops
nothing.
off.
It's just done.
Yep. So I'm gonna start this one off. Sorry. This segment for me took a nosedive when they killed the dog. 5 turds.
5 turds.
It was stupid.
Kristen.
3.
3. Okay.
Yeah.
What redeeming factors did you glean from this segment to go from a 5 to a 3?
Well, one of the things that we talked about in the first segment was that a lot of the things happened off screen. So seeing some of the murdering off screen or some of the more scary scenes off screen, and this was being the second segment, you actually see the vine, even though it's probably just the typical fishing line floating business, but it floats to the guy and taps him on the shoulder and then strangles him, and you do see that on screen, and you see him laying up on the bed dead. And,
that's true.
So in terms of like the concept of it being a horror film, that was the redeeming factor for me.
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna go between y'all and give it a 4.
Damn. Putting me at I'm the most harsh on this one. Okay.
Yeah, I mean I found the whole concept ridiculous. I mean, when you start off a anthology with a werewolf and then your next story is a killer fucking plant, it's not exactly keeping the tone strong with the rest of the movie.
Yeah, something about threatening foliage just does not do it for me.
No. And then the way it ended without any sort of resolution and no idea of what was going to happen to me was a detriment to it. But again, the acting was great. I mean, for
unfortunately, yes, good acting is being wasted on stupid stories.
And I mean, obviously the plants were moved around by fishing line, but you didn't see any of the string, so it wasn't too bad of an effect.
Not too bad. It must have been using that 5-pound test line. That
probably,
little skinny stuff.
You can get 200 yards of it for $1.85 at Walmart.
If you wrote it, we could go 50-50.
It belongs to the god Damballa, known only to his own people for centuries.
Oh, well, if it's that old, then it's out of copyright. I can just take it and give Chrissy my shirt.
So the next segment is called Voodoo, and in this one, another member of the cabinet is a jazz musician who is in the West Indies for a gig and stumbles upon a voodoo ritual ceremony going on. And because he's white and into jazz, he decides...
No, back that one up, brother. He is like the whitest dude ever.
Yeah, I mean, him and his band are...
It's just beyond... He's beyond... He's Wonder Bread white. I mean,
No,
this dude...
we need to back it up even further, and y'all need to say what you said during the film.
Oh, yeah. When he was up there with his band.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I called him White Bread and the Honkies.
White Bread and the Honkies, that's right. He's mayonnaise on white toast on a paper plate.
During a snowstorm.
During a snowstorm, that's right.
On Labor Day, right?
But he's so white that he goes to... He sneaks up on a voodoo ceremony, and instead of being enthralled by what's going on or being scared by what's going on, he's tapping his toe, and he pulls out a notepad and starts writing the musical notes of the conga drums that are being played.
And he was like a kid in a candy store. It was hilarious. He was in the bushes, sitting there smiling. He's bouncing, and he's writing down the musical
Now,
notes
this was
stuff.
a very funny scene because it was very very Naked Gun, because like it would show him in the bush writing, and then it would cut to the ceremony. It cut back, and there was a voodoo guy behind him.
Yeah, one of the tribesmen.
Behind him. Didn't notice, so he was writing. Cuts back to the ceremony. Cuts back to him again. Now there's two.
Now there's two of them.
Cuts back to the ceremony. Cuts back again. There's fucking three. And we're like, okay, this is a bit. This is a gag. And then cuts back again, and we're like, okay, when it cuts back, it's gonna be four. Cuts back to him, and of course, there's four.
There's four of
dudes.
them.
This whole time, four tribesmen snuck up on him behind him, and he didn't even notice. It was pure Naked Gun gag.
Now, anybody knows, anything like this, if you interfere with a ceremony like that, you're most likely to end up either a corpse or cursed. They basically accosted this dude, drug him out of the bushes, chastised him for you wrote down the music. He stuffs it in his shirt somehow and gets away.
I don't know.
I think he writes it out of memory from that point,
does
because the guy tears it up in
the
that
guy
scene.
took it from him.
Yeah. So he gets back to London, where he makes a composition out of it for his jazz band, Whitey and the Whiteys, and proceeds to play it.
Crack a Man and the Saltines.
Proceeds to play it in this club, and because he's playing it, the evil spirit of Pazuzu, whoever it is, enters the club, and there's wind opening the doors. There's women weaves going all over the place. There's papers all over the place. He's basically creating a hurricane inside.
No, this is the 60s, dude.
The band.
Everybody's hair was real. It wasn't no fake. Well, there might have been some wigs in the house, but
But yeah, so creates a.
They're more pissed off that Aquanet didn't hold.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess so, because that was the shit back then.
And so he. His friend who knows a bit about his fellow bandmate who knows a bit about the voodoo curse or the voodoo religion, whatever, tells him that he needs to get rid of that music, that it's created all this, and he's still so white. He's like, no, there was something in the middle that wasn't right. I'm gonna tweak it and make it better. And so he goes home, and while there, shit starts happening in his house, and then one of the tribesmen shows up. And gives a dude a heart attack.
How about an 8-foot tall motherfucker shows up
tall.
in full makeup in his living room and jacks the music.
Jacks the music and then walks off. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, we've clearly referred to how white the guy is, but in all reality,
did we really?
I'm not sure. I feel like
I think you need to reiterate how white he was.
But in all reality, this was just basically summed up into a 15 minutes of 60s white privilege.
Yeah.
I mean, a white guy going into an indigenous tribe's ceremony, totally plagiarizing their ritual, and then taking it and coining it as his own in a jazz band in London. It just screams 60s racism.
Right. This cracked me up, though. This was actually, so far in the movie, was by far my favorite segment, and the music was badass. I'm sorry, the jazz music was good, and the tribal music was good. This was an entertaining segment.
Well, and it was a good spooky story. It kind of had the Scooby-Doo vibe a little bit.
It really did, actually. That's a good point. It's a very good point. It did. So, all right, James, what are you going to rate this one?
It's a slam dunk for me. This is easily a 1 turd for me. This one's not that bad at all. It was very entertaining, laughable, not very scary or horror-ish, but the story itself was good, and I enjoyed it.
Okay. And Kristin?
2.
A 2?
A 2?
Yeah.
What made you give it a 2?
I still liked the first segment a little bit better.
Okay.
In terms of it just being a bit spookier.
All right.
But this one was definitely much more comical, had a much more lighthearted vibe to it. But I don't know. Still favoring the first one.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna go 3 on this one. It wasn't too bad, but even with all of the, let's go 2, because it was so much fun to make fun of the white privilege and how white these people were. That it elevated it to a 2 for me, because the rest of it was just so. I mean, the acting was great, of course, but otherwise, I thought the story was just nothing all that great, and of course, it wasn't scary. But the ending with the tribesmen and the stuff happening in the guy's house was pretty cool.
Yeah,
it was pretty neat. So I'm going to give it a 2 for that one.
Sweet.
A work of notable incompetence, even from Mr. Eric Landor.
You don't like my work, Mr. Marsh?
Ah, the great man himself.
One wonders why you come to my exhibitions so regularly if my work displeases you.
Duty, my dear sir, duty.
All right, so the next one is called Disembodied Hand. This one is the one starring Christopher Lee.
Yep.
As an art critic who is a prick.
He's a total douche.
He makes fun of the art of a prolific painter by the name of Eric Landor, who is played by Michael Gough, who played Alfred in the Michael Keaton Batman movies.
Yes, he did.
So anyway, while he's at one of the exhibits, he's making fun of all the paintings of Eric's, and Eric gets the upper hand on him by bringing out this painting that looks different from the others.
That was going to say, first pun.
There's going to be a ton of fucking puns in this one, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
And so he brings out this painting that's different from the others, and as Christopher Lee's character is complimenting it and saying that he could learn a thing or two from this artist, he asks if he can meet the artist, and he says sure. And so he brings out a monkey, thereby saying that Christopher Lee doesn't know good art from a monkey art.
That's right.
And embarrassing him. So then we spend the next 5 minutes of this dude stalking Christopher Lee's character to all the different art exhibits that he goes to, and just all the different places he's at. He ends up there, and just making fun of him, and eventually it wears down on Christopher Lee.
It sets him the fuck off, and he does a whole Christine thing, and
he runs down the guy with the car,
runs his ass down, and the
runs over his hand.
Runs over his hand.
And
that's funny as shit.
Which means that he can't paint no more. So the guy's in the hospital. His hand has been cut off, and there's a really bad effect of like this big stump of gauze on his hand.
Yeah.
And eventually the guy kills himself because he can't paint no more. He shoots himself.
He shoots himself in the head, but yet he doesn't just fall down. He dramatically raises his good hand into the air in this clutch look, and he just fades down, and his arm slowly goes out of the shot. And he did.
Suddenly, after that happens, his dismembered hand somehow comes to life and starts to chase after Christopher Lee.
And let's get something very clear. It's not Addams Family thing chasing. It's scooting.
Yeah. It's they created some sort of weird 1960s animatronic hand that looked terrible.
I liked it.
I mean, the way the actual paper mache or whatever the hell they used looked bad, but it actually crawled on its own across like carpet and stuff, and so looked cool that way. I thought it was really neat the way it crawled.
They probably brought in German scientists since they had so many, German folk working on this movie anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, so they had a it wasn't like I said, the Addams Family, where like it was just a dude hidden behind something.
It was up like on its fingertips, running real fast.
Right, like a tarantula.
Right,
exactly.
Or it wasn't just like creative cuts of like where the hand was coming out of a box or something where you knew a guy was hiding underneath. Like the hand was severed and it was moving on its own on carpet or parts where you couldn't hide a person, or at least you couldn't tell where they were hiding a person.
And of course, when you have a cut off hand and you have a bad guy, what happens?
Hand job? What happens, James?
The hand goes after the dude.
Yeah, so he appeared in the guy's car.
Tried to choke his ass.
He
loved it.
Threw it
he
in a fire.
barbecued it.
Yeah, it still came back after that.
Oh, and it was cooking too, man. You could hear it sizzling in the fire pit.
But the best part was after he thought he burned it, or after he thought he got rid of it. He's driving in his car one stormy night, and all of a sudden
this was hands down the best scene.
See, pun intended again.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, as he's driving, the hand suddenly appears out of nowhere and slaps onto the windshield, stopping one of the wipers.
I fucking love that, and I actually called that. I remember
I was
like, please, hand, jump on the damn windshield, do something.
You've already done the inside of the car, do the outside of the car.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to repeat, let's do it.
Which causes him to crash, and then he goes blind, and that's the end of his story.
Because he can't be an art critic anymore since he's blind.
That's
so
right.
the ambulance drivers say, well, you can do plenty of other things with being blind.
You can paint. Oh, wait, no, you can't. Sorry.
And here's a stupid thing, going back to the train now, because, he's just going around in a circle. Of course, the movie dictates that, yes, every person in the room has to be read at some point. But I'm thinking by the third guy or even the second guy is like, hey, look, both these motherfuckers have got death cards. I ain't doing shit.
Oh, that's another thing we didn't mention. So after every story, so the stories take place when the Doctor Schreck guy pulls the 4 cards from the tarot to tell the guy's story. Then after the story airs, they pull the 5th card, and
which is like his end result or something.
Yeah.
Well,
like
what he says is there is a way out of this fate, and the 5th card will reveal the way out.
There we go.
And for every single person, the way out was death.
Right, it was a death card. So
they're like, damn.
yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so what do you give Disembodied Hand, James?
Disembodied Hand cracked me up. I'm giving this one I'm also giving this one a 1.
Okay.
Because of the comical element. It was not a bad story, but the whole thing, Adam's family thing, hand crawling attack, but the windshield bought it for me. Okay. When it jumped up on there and jacked his car and caused him to crash, I fucking loved that.
Okay, cool. And Beb?
1.
A 1? Wow.
Because I agree. They're very, very creative with the way that the hand was. I really liked it. I thought it looked like a super creepy zombie hand.
Yeah.
Again, had a little bit of this super dark but still kind of a Scooby-Doo vibe.
Yeah.
Because some of the taunting back and forth kind of reminded me of that. Just the typical 60s humor.
Yep.
And yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
I'm going to go 1 as well. I think this was a very fun segment. Christopher Lee was great as always. It was fun to see Michael Gow as anything other than the butler from Batman. And it was fun to see him go from being just a artist to being a dick by taunting.
That's probably why he got stuck with It's probably why he got stuck with the whole Alfred role. Yeah, motherfucker, you want a job here? Yeah, we seen your work.
Yeah.
You were that one hand motherfucker back from 1965. No, you get Alfred.
Yeah, and the hand part was cool. The hand animatronic was really neat for 1960s. And it was just it was one of the more fun segments. So
yep.
I think it deserves a 1.
And last but not least,
Nicole is my wife.
You know what a vampire is? It's a spirit that takes up residence in a human body, conferring upon it the power to turn into a bat at night, so that it can glut itself on the blood of innocent victims. And if the victim dies, he becomes a vampire, and after death rises from the grave and walks the earth in search of blood.
Is Vampire.
Blah, 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 blah.
This one stars Donald Sutherland as a man who returns home in the United States with his new French bride by the name of Nicole.
French? She sounded more Romanian to me, but okay, go ahead.
And for some reason, he begins to believe there's something wrong with his wife, and he goes to a friend of his, Dr. Blake, who has her blood tested, and somehow finds out she's a vampire. Off screen, right?
I'll remind you.
Yes, and so decides that he has to kill he has to kill his wife because she's a vampire. Now,
I like the way it also alludes to the fact that soon there is evidence that the vampire is on the loose.
They're
all dramatic and shit.
And there's not one of those she might be, she might not be. Like, you straight up see her like turn into a bat, and yep. I mean the first scene is when he cuts his hand and she like licks his hand because it's blood. But she turns into a bat and takes off, and so it's obvious she's a vampire. And so he then ends up killing her one night after she comes home from a night out on the wind.
Ugh.
And
let's not forget how though.
With a stake,
but yet when he was whittling that damn thing, remember he was holding a fucking log.
Yeah.
And he was whittling
5 minutes later he
had like 10 seconds later he holds it up here.
It's a super sharp point.
And it was a super sharp point. That was one whittling motherfucker right there. I mean, he was quick. Make a hillbilly proud.
Stick him with the pointy end.
Yeah,
that's right. And so he kills her, and the police come to the house next morning to arrest him, and he tells them that his doctor said that she was a vampire, had to kill him. When Dr. Blake arrives, he denies everything and saying that he had never said any of that, and there was no evidence she was a vampire, and he's crazy. So they arrest him. At which point, they ask him if he needs a ride home, and Dr. Blake says no, he'll walk. And then he turns to the camera, breaking the fourth wall, and says...
Also predicted.
Yeah. And says, yes, he predicted this. It said this town isn't big enough for 2 doctors or 2 vampires, and then does a ballet puree and turns into a vampire.
He sure does.
A puree. Pirouette, whatever it's called. Yeah,
It
puree.
don't matter. It's pure.
Yeah,
He pureed that bitch.
That's staying in, and turns into a bat. And so that is why he was able to whittle the damn log down so fast. He uses vampire speed to whittle that shit real quick off screen.
That's right.
Off screen. I will add. So anyway, so that was vampire. James, what do you score that one?
I didn't like that one that much. It
Okay.
was kind of middle of the road. The bat was fucking stupid.
Yeah, it was pretty horrible.
I'm gonna go 3 turds on that because it was still cool, but not
not as good as the other ones.
No.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go 3 turds. Not as bad as that 5 turd bitch though.
All right.
Damn fucking killer plant.
Yeah.
Fuck that thing.
Babe, what do you give it?
So let me start before I give my number. I was super stoked that they did a werewolf segment, a vampire segment. So I was really excited to like kind of see what they did with it. And so particularly with the vampire, when I saw that, a guy suddenly finds his new bride to be a vampire. I was like, great, I want to see how they're going to go with this. And I was bored as shit the entire time. I was miserable. So I'm going to have to give it a 5.
A 5?
Yeah, because I had such high hopes and they just crashed and burned.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I was pretty, like I said, like you, I was excited to see them bookend the whole series with, werewolf at the beginning, vampire at the end. I was like, cool, that's going to be neat, and put the shit in the middle, whatever. But everything that happened in the segment happened off screen, or it happened so fast that you had no time to contemplate how they came to this conclusion or that conclusion. It was so rushed. It was so muddled. And like James said, the bat was so terrible as far as the effects. I mean, how do you have a disembodied hand that looks better than a damn bat?
And first of all, and the motherfucker couldn't do nothing but crawl. Just this little slight crawl. How the hell that motherfucker jump onto a moving car moving about 30, 40, 50 miles an hour?
You're going back. We're talking about the bat right now. But
I know, we're talking about the bat, but it's all
the
bullshit.
hand looked better than the bat, and it's a bat. It's actual. An actual thing that you can see fly like on like newsreels or nature footage.
I see a stagehand running across a catwalk above the shot with a fishing pole.
Yeah,
just bobbing his arm up and down.
Yeah,
with that bull.
Yeah, it was bullshit. And then the whole breaking of the fourth wall I thought was kind of stupid. I'm gonna have to go with 5 as well on this one.
Damn.
Yeah, it was definitely the most boring and the least interesting. I mean, it was as bad as the killer plant. Yeah. So then we have the end of the movie, or the epilogue, in which everyone has realized that that all 5 of the people in that car have no future. They are all destined to die.
They all got that damn card, and they're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, and so they asked Dr. Schreck, well, what about your future? And so he does the trick on himself, but instead of revealing the 4 cards, he just pulls them off to the side and then pulls the 5th card, his destiny card, and it's the death card.
Yep.
And at that point, one of them asks him, who are you? And he replies with, haven't you guessed by now? At which point the train light goes out. When it comes back on, he's disappeared. The death card is face up on the chair in front of him. But he's gone. The train stops. They all think that they are finally arrived at the destination. No train crash.
Yep.
They're saved. They don't have to worry about it. They get off the train, and they're at this weird, dark, creepy station.
Deserted depot with red smoke and shit.
And when they get off and turn around, the train is gone. And so, Kristin, you called it.
Yes, I did.
You said that Dr. Schreck was actually Death, the angel of death. And as they're standing there, they
think you bad, don't you?
Yeah. As they're standing there, a newspaper falls from above them, and one of them catches it and reads it, and it says...
and James called this one.
James called this.
5 die and train crash.
5 dead, which is those 5.
So these bastards were already gone.
Yeah, and they see Dr. Schreck again, and they call out to him. He turns around, and when it cuts back, it's a Halloween Express skeleton in a row.
Yeah, your as I call it, the high school biology lab skeleton.
Yeah. So the twist was that they were all dead already.
Yeah.
So
apparently they were dead like at the beginning when they started even reading the damn thing.
Right. And so that's the end of Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. So
it was basically 1965's version of Inception.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was like a death within a death within a death.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so let's start with the guest, Kristin.
Ooh.
What did you like about the movie?
I really liked just... It was typical 60s cinema. It was, and I have not seen very many movies, but it definitely had that classic feel of a little bit of humor, a little spooky. It's definitely a nice Diet Coke version of horror. So.
Nice. I like that. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It's Coke Zero for
It's Coke
horror.
Zero. There you go. Okay, so what would you score this movie on the shit scale?
I would give it a 1 overall.
Really?
I'd
Really?
just
Even
would,
with the 5 turd thrown in there?
I
huh?
would. I would go straight through and just skip the vampire altogether. Blow her right off.
Just forget that whole thing, huh?
Bye.
Damn.
Okay, all right. Well, James, what about you?
Well, based on my averages, I love the thing I love most about this movie was the nostalgia and the acting. I like the old creepy horror feel, the old Hitchcock era music, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The eeriness.
Yeah.
It's very predictable, of course, because compared to today's horror, it's absolutely nothing.
Right.
This is a nursery rhyme compared to something like the original Halloween movie or Hellraiser or something like that.
Yeah.
So going with my averages, I had 3 1s, a 3, and a 5. I'm going to go ahead and go 2 overall because of the fact that I did have the turd segment, the bad one with the plant.
Okay.
So that kind of brings it down a little bit for me because I'm going to go more with my average. So if I average it out, it's about a 3.
Okay.
I mean a 2, excuse me.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2 as well. It's a fun movie. The atmosphere is what saves it. The not just the 60s atmosphere, but like the 60s British horror goth atmosphere of it all saves it. The soundtrack is great. The acting is fantastic. It's just unfortunate that the majority of the stories are not very good or boring as shit. But overall, I think it's fun. I think it's worth watching. Maybe having a drinking game to it or something. But I think after maybe 1 or 2 watches, you will have no reason to go back to it after that. The rewatchability is not very high on this one. So
no, because once you it's one of those ones you watch it once, the surprise is out of the bag. So you'd want to convert it into a drinking game, like do the mustache game. Since it's English guys, you might want to do like a
mutton chops game.
English top hat with a cheesy handlebar mustache.
I say
on the screen
do a mutton chops game and just put like a one-sided mutton chop on there.
There you go.
Yeah.
And every time it hits the right spot, slam one.
Every time he draws the death card, you have to take a shot.
Oh my gosh, you'd be dead as well by the time the movie ended.
That's at least 6 shots.
That's at least, yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, that was great. Kristin, thank you so much for joining us.
We sure appreciate
you. For having me.
You bet.
Yeah. Now, if anybody wanted to locate you on social media, could they? And if they could, where could they find you?
So my Instagram is an ordinary Houston girl.
Okay.
That's where I do most of my cosplay and photo shoots and just my random.
And we have another one too when we show off our kids, right?
Yes, we have our 3 dogs, and we have the Davila Dog House.
That's Davila Doghouse, all one word, right?
Yeah.
And that is awesome. I follow that as well. I love to watch. Especially the hamster.
Yeah.
I love the hamster.
You can see our corgi, our German Shepsky, and our whatever else Bowie is because he's
a mix.
He's a mix.
He's a super mutt.
Yeah.
That's you got some great dogs.
Yeah. So go follow us on there. Go follow her on An Ordinary Houston Girl. She has a ton of great pictures on there, and I'm not just saying that because I'm married to her.
He is a little biased.
I am a little bit, but she has great pictures on there. So.
Absolutely.
All right, James, so where can they find us?
Okay, well, they can find the podcast now on anchor.fm. We just recently moved to that platform, and if you go there, you can find us on any of the other platforms usually. Any of your favorites like Skype. Skype?
Nope, not on Skype.
Ugh.
On Spotify.
I always say Skype instead of Spotify. To my, not all the time, but Spotify, iTunes, every one of them.
Yeah.
You can find them all there. On social media, you can find us on Facebook at What the Suck Podcast. We are on Instagram and Twitter. When you go to search for us on those two, you're going to need to put the underscore between the words. We come up anyway, but it comes up better if you do it the other way.
And do us a favor and go on Apple Podcast and rate and review us, please. The more you do that, the further up the list we go. So if you would do that, that'd be appreciated. Also, if you go to our Anchor website, there's a link there where you can leave us a voice message if you want to leave us your version of a review from something we've seen or something that you wanted to see. You can go on there and leave us a voice message, and we might even play it on the show.
Leave dirty messages, cuss us out,
Tell
whatever.
Us
I mean, I don't
if
give
you
a
think
shit.
we suck, if you think we're great, either way we want to hear it. So go leave us a message.
Well, the one good thing I can say is so far there hasn't been any hate.
Well, that's good.
No hate.
That's good.
I like that.
Not everybody's liked all the time though, so it's coming. So.
Of course, I'm ex-military, so you better watch what you say.
And James, where can they follow you?
If they follow me, they're going to get shot. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me on Facebook, just James E. Bishop III. I'm also on Instagram at James Bishop III. I'm supposed to be the third, but they don't, it doesn't work. Follow me. As a matter of fact, sometimes if you do send a friend request or something, if you can send a message to let me know you heard about me on the podcast so that I don't reject you and think, who the hell is this? Because a lot of times I go through my friend requests and if there's no matches, they're like no friend matches or something. Just let me know that you came to me through the podcast. That way I can accept your friendship and I'll say howdy to you.
That's a good point. Because there are a lot of
I thought about that last week when I've been talking
there.
about this. I just want to make sure that I don't accidentally think somebody who's trying to follow me is bullshit.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. All right, guys. Well, and if you have any suggestions for movies you want us to review, please send that to us, and we'll take a look at them and add them to the list, and at some point get to them. So
absolutely.
Until next time, this is Chris, and I will see you at the next Suckfest.
And this is James, and if it ain't on What the Suck, it ain't shit.
All right, guys. See ya.
Peace.